Hello and welcome to July 5th, 2022. My name is Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. Something that I do every morning, first thing after I wake up, clean up, and then I do this to prepare myself for the day. I also do it I prepare myself for the day by reminding myself of what's important. Namely, what are the things that I'm striving towards? And what tools do I have along the way? Not just for striving, but also for discerning truth. What is my epistemology, basically? What is my operating tool set for discerning what is true about the universe versus what is inaccurate or wishful thinking? I have 7 objectives and 30 principles, and I'll recite them in just a second. But before I do that, let's talk about yesterday and last night. Namely, how did I do living this last 24 hours against these principles and towards these objectives? Let's see. Well, first last night, it was another. My insomnia is back. I don't know if you can tell if I look tired. I had another tough night. I was up at least an hour before the alarm. But curiously, with really zero stress, just laying there awake, not thinking about much. True, the fireworks of the night upset my balance. We live on a lake around a golf course, a lake that is in the middle of a golf course, and we surround the golf course. And our neighbors across the lake were launching fireworks themselves, and those were quite close by and quite upsetting to my goodness. Grandpa needs his sleep, and I went to bed really early. So maybe that had something to do with it. Otherwise, yesterday was a very good day. Had a fun day. Yumiko and I went to Idlewild up in the mountains to enjoy their 4th of July parade. We had lunch at the Red Kettle, and then we had ice cream at the ice cream joint just 4 or 5 stores up the street from the Red Kettle towards the mountaintop. And then we meandered the community. We had a cup of tea. We talked a lot. We had a really good time talking about our retirement years to come. I can't wait for them to get here. I'm so tired of working. Yeah. It's interesting how that sneaks up on me. I think it sneaks up on others too. Maybe I should say sneaks up on us. You know, I didn't see this world weariness, or mainly my job weariness, coming a decade back, or 5 years back, or even last year. I felt the exhaustion last year, but I didn't feel. Yeah, you just reach a point where I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be a part of the rat race. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to wake up and have that on my mind. I just want to retreat away. As they say, retire. But now it's here. And it's within sight, but it's still a steady row to the shore. And I know from reading the accounts of others that arrival at the shore will have its challenges as well. All right, let's do the good life. My 7 objectives are as follows. 1, to be always ready to die. To just live my life in such a way that all the important stuff is in a nearly settled state. My affairs, my relationships, and my life's work, which is the writing of Going Alone. And I think I'm pretty much there. Number 2 is the good and effective use of time. Just living in such a way that I'm not spending my time frivolously or wastefully or imprudently. Is that right? Imprudently? And I think I am. I think I make good use of my time. The main thing I do when I'm not working or being with my wife, less and less my daughter because she's got her own life now. The main thing I'm doing when I'm not doing those things is I'm walking or I'm reading, which are great use of time. Started a new book last night. I'm discovering that I'm settling into a routine of reading 2 to 3 books at a time simultaneously, because it's like watching different channels on a TV show. Sometimes you feel, today you might feel like something light, and tomorrow you might feel like something academic. And the more readerly or writerly books. I started a new book called Desert Oracle. I had finished the book that I was reading about Sarah Winnemucca Hawkins. I think her last name was Hawkins' book about life among the Paiutes. I finished that. And I started a called Desert Oracle, Anecdotes from the Desert, this California desert. Really fascinating, real page turner. All right, so then the next one is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, which I think I've done, and I continue to work on them, mainly by thinking about them every day, as I'm doing right now. Then my next principle, my next objective is to develop, is to cultivate good emotional reactions. The cultivation part is the key thing, right? It's preparing the soil. It's having myself in a ready state to react well to challenging circumstances in my life. I think I'm in good shape with that too. The next one is to just do good actions. Just to do good things throughout the day. I think I do that too. Then to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, so I'm not pressing myself into areas where I don't belong. And that I am applying myself where I can make some good use of my time and my effort. And then lastly, my last objective is to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and carefully and deliberately. Okay, those are my 7 objectives. My 30 principles now are as follows. Principle number 1 is, I call it the principle of war. It's a reminder to fight against the things that I think are true, against them. Not supporting what I think is true, but trying to take down what I think is true, so that I can disabuse myself of error and folly and lies, bloody lies. Next is the principle of reason, and the 3 sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt. I want to live a reasonable life, a life based on what is real and true, and to be a skeptic of all such propositions. A skeptic that's nevertheless willing to be won over for good reason. Next one is the homunculus, the suggestion that the idea of a soul is just wishful thinking. I don't think we have a soul, but clearly we have a consciousness of some sort that is the thing that's apprehending the world around us now. The next principle is called the Anchorhold, which is which builds on the idea of the homunculus, suggesting that the homunculus is indeed, of course, mortal and will die with us when we die, but that it is also trapped in our head, kind of like a person on a rock in the sea where the waves come up, the tide rises, the winds blow, and we struggle on. Yet one day we all end up in the sea, and it's not good to wind up in the sea. Remember, we're mortal after all, and we have no soul. Next comes the home of good and evil, the suggestion that right and wrong, good and evil are mere opinions that we hold. They don't exist in the universe outside of us, beyond us. Next comes the atomic principle. Everything is made of little bits and pieces that are flowing and changing and forever transforming. Atoms and molecules in motion, ready to fly apart. So too you and me. Next comes the principle of nature, the idea that everything and everyone have some particular nature, some way of being, some attitude, some, inertia of sorts. And if I can identify that and recognize it and abide it, then I'll be dealing with the world and others in a more honest and deliberate way. More honest way, that's the right word, honest. Honestly dealing with people and things as they are, and as they move and as they go. Next comes the maturity and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. Wisely remembering our past successes and our failures and having the fortitude to do better in the future. That's maturity. And then the social principle. We need each other. We are social creatures. And the best ends we can pursue are the social ends. The ends that improve the well-being of others and ourselves as well. Next comes the public speaking. That's the next principle. And the idea that of being very careful in what I say, choosing my words deliberately, words that are well understood, not flashy or highfalutin. Even though I want to have a good vocabulary, I do not want to be showy with my speech. I want to be cautious and careful and circumspect, not ostentatious, to use a big word. I also don't want to gossip. That's an important part of this principle. Okay, the next principle is temperance. A reminder to be very careful with my consumption. Consuming less. Less food, less drink, less work, less play. Less of everything. Next comes can't remember. After temperance comes, oh yeah, the horror show. Life is a scary place. Lots of terrible things happening. It's good to remember that. And then that which must be borne or carried. And what we have to carry is the fact of the horror show and the responsibilities that we've onboarded during the course of our life, namely our families and children. Mostly our kids. But also the commitments we've made to our spouse. have to bear them. Just keep on trudging away, Kurt. Emily's college is more than halfway done now. Halfway paid for. Next comes distraction. We distract ourselves with work and play and hobbies, sports, religion, family. What are we distracting ourselves from? We distract ourselves from the next principle, which is the Great Indifference, the great yawning emptiness of the universe beyond the pale dim light of our familial relations, our societal connections, and our small, dim-wadded, not witted, but dim-wadded consciousness, our homunculus. Yeah, we don't want to see that great indifference, so we keep ourselves distracted with all these other things, including the pain. Okay. Next comes the best seat in the house, to be all right with who I am and what I'm doing and where I am. And then the Path of Wildness, which is a way to break from one life paradigm into another. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of risk. It's very hard to do, but worth the effort. I've got at least one more great life adventure in mind. That is to escape from America and get back to Japan, get a house and retire away. Yeah, that's what Yumiko and I were talking about yesterday on our date off together. Next comes the risk of avoiding risk. The surface level risks of life are education and career and home and family and security. The deep risk is not attending to that little voice inside of us that's wondering who we are and why we're here and what to do. It's a tricky thing to attend to both levels of risk, but it's important to do if you hear yourself being called by that deeper thing. If you don't, it won't go away. It'll just become more insistent and less easy to assuage the older we get. That's why I still attend to it. I need to. Next comes sin and damnation. There are sins out there. No sins about God. There is no God. But there are sins, well, at least none that I can apprehend, so I operate as though there is none. So the sins in my worldview are 7. They relate to believing things that are that may be untrue, being untrue, and gossiping. And they are as follows: falsity, being dishonest; credulity, believing things too easily; faith, believing where we found our belief upon the fact of we want to believe, which is that a tautology? Goes around to itself. It's a snake eating its own tail. And then after that comes superstition, belief, in something that is basically categorically recognized as nonsense. Authority, belief based on being impressed by the presentation, speech, voice, demeanor of someone or an institution. Dogma, belief founded on tradition. And gossip, talking about others behind their back. A nasty thing to do. So I try not to do it. The damnation part is that we're damned in the here and now when we engage in such things. Next comes complete oblivion. The idea, the recognition that when we're dead, that's the end of us. We won't continue in any way. We won't see our loved ones again. We won't have a chance to reconcile, make up any problems, and there won't be any final justice. Next comes the great life adventure, which is one or more experiences that kind of forms a nucleus of our lives, tells the story, helps to make our story. Hi, Rudy. Then comes the season of philosophy, which is the time to record what we've learned along the way. And then the bullseye aim, striving for the mark but usually missing. The uphill climb, a steady trudge upward and forward. Arena and utility. Life is this venue where we get to exercise our principles in the direction of our objectives. Nothing is enough. A suggestion, not just towards temperance, but towards abstinence. And then finally, the principle of fun, a reminder to have a good time now, looking forward, and remembering back. And that's my good life meditation for today. And the last thing I do, it's technically a part of it, but so I guess I'm still doing it, is I think about the coming day. I don't have a lot today. I think I've got 4 meetings. One of them is a training that I'm going to do, which won't be too hard. Good group of people. I think I'm ready for that. Excuse me. And then just forward march. I'm not quite ready for it, though. I am exhausted. Despite the coffee, I'm exhausted. And I'm eating well. I'm getting good exercise. I got 5 miles of walking yesterday. A lot of the walking we did in Idlewild. My hernia didn't act up. Losing weight. Feeling good otherwise. Just not ready for the day. I'm just so done. I'm ready to retire. Ready to hang up my hat. Sneak away. It's interesting how that comes. Like I said before. All right, have a good day. Be safe, but not too safe.